I'm still struggling with this idea, and in fact, I wrote an op-ed just before we went on the air, and I was editing it during the breaks, that I'm thinking of submitting to one of the websites that carries our stuff today, or maybe multiple ones, suggesting that what we're seeing with John Boehner's letter here to his colleagues that he wants to start a lawsuit is not so much impeachment 2.0, which is what I was originally thinking, but that it is birth certificate 2.0. And let me just give you a couple of examples. In his, where John Boehner has personalized this. This is not just him saying, you know, the president, the institution of the presidency are doing things that in our opinion are beyond the Constitution, and we're going to sue them to try to restrain them. Instead, he's making it seem like this guy, this black man in the White House, is behaving in a way that's a little too uppity for John Boehner. Now, if you think I'm being hyperbolic with that kind of language, that I'm over the top, let me just give you a couple of quotes from John Boehner's letter to all the members of the House of Representatives dated June 25th. He says, the president at times is even boasting about his willingness to do it, even as if daring the American people to stop him. Boasting? Really? I thought he said that you got to do nothing, Congress, and if they're not going to do something, I will. That's not boasting. That's not being too uppity for you, John. That's saying, if you guys won't do your job, I'm going to do mine. Boasting? And then he talks about how when he travels around the United States and talks to Republican groups, which, if you've ever watched television, you know that when John Boehner stands up in front of a group of Republicans, there might be one or two faces of color in that crowd, and in all probability, they're employees of a local right-wing think tank. So he's basically talking to white people. And here again, he's personalizing this. He's not just talking about the policies. I mean, back when they went after FDR, they called him a socialist and a communist because they said that Social Security was socialism. And to a certain extent, they were right. And they said that, the government involving itself in things that are traditionally private sector, planting trees, building roads, well, not building roads so much, private sector, but building buildings even, that this was communism. And to a certain extent, they were right. But they never said, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Call in and correct me if I'm wrong. But they never said, to the best of my knowledge, Franklin Roosevelt has no right to be president, and he's just too uppity for this. He's too cocky for this. So here's the other thing that Boehner said in his memo. He said, everywhere I go in America outside of Washington, D.C., I am asked, he doesn't say by white people, but I would insert that, when will the House stand up on behalf of the American people to stop the encroachment of executive power under President Obama? We elected a president, America notes. We did not elect a monarch or king. And I am of the opinion, firmly of the opinion, and I realize that, right-wing websites are going to take this thing and say that I've gone over the edge, but they're going to be right-wing websites that are talking to virtually exclusively white audiences. And maybe even some people on the left are going to say, okay, Hartmann's gone too far here. But they're going to be white people saying it. I'm telling you, this is not impeachment 2.0, although it's going to head in that direction. It has, as a side benefit, tying up the president, tying up his resources, forcing him to hire lawyers, all this kind of stuff, just like they did when they impeached Bill Clinton. But beyond that, this is questioning his personal legitimacy to execute the office of President of the United States. And one of their charges against him is that he boasts. He boasts about doing things for poor people, which in John Boehner world is code for black people. even though statistically most Americans in poverty are white. When you hear poor people, when you hear that phrase on Fox News or in right-wing talk radio, you know, look at the context. They are virtually always talking about minorities. They're talking about inner city Chicago or Birmingham or, you know, whatever. So anyhow, that's my take for the day.